Red Ray Gun Limited presents...
The Benji and Nick Show. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good day.
Good evening.
Good night.
Good sir night.
Good brick.
Good muns.
Goodness.
Loch Ness, you shocked yourself there. Do you say good brick?
Yeah, I just looked over and saw a wall, and funnily enough, there's not a single brick in that wall. But it's stone, and, you know, it's an old-fashioned wall. And I said brick, which really, I thought, why am I saying something I can't even see? Anyway, that was the Loch Ness game. It's not a game, and it's not about Loch Ness.
This is the Benji and Nick Show, your number one show for vintage TV across the land. That's right, we delve into the past. We look over old programmes. We see whether they're worth a watch again. Some you might remember, some you might want to forget, and some you might need to ask your granny about.
Granny?
Granny, what's this all about? Today, what are we covering, Nick?
Oh, today, I'd completely forgotten. But
I don't
today,
know what week it is.
It's the adventure game. People often mention the adventure game very fondly in sort of casual conversation. A BBC Two sort of reality quiz show with a sci-fi setting. All those words make it sound far more interesting than it actually was. When did it start?
Late 70s. Let me have a look for you.
Was it?
Adventure, I think so, game. I'll double check for you. No, 1980, I stand corrected, 1980. An interesting one, the adventure game, because it's sort of, it has got cult status, even though it's just like a video game, really. I suppose it stands up in the same way that the Crystal Maze stood up for a long time, and has that sort of culty quality as well. The Crystal Maze, of course, being vastly better. What's your favourite zone in the Crystal Maze, Nick? I was discussing this with my friend Dan yesterday.
Well, although I watched it many, many times, I don't really.
You don't have a favourite zone?
Gosh.
For everybody listening here, of course, Medieval Zone tops it for me, but I'm very partial to the Industrial Zone, actually. You know, with the sunken ship Industrial Zone, which is a very interesting one.
So it's very similar to that thing Fort Boyard, which they did on Channel.
Yes, which had Geoffrey Bayldon in it as the magician in the tower.
To start with, anyway.
Yes.
Didn't they replace him with someone who was a bit like him or something? Eventually?
Probably just some random old man.
Off the street.
Not nearly as good. We've also got our guest reviewer, haven't we, Nick? Shelley Dean will be joining us from across the seas, the seven of them, 7 seas. She'll be helping us, and let's see what she thinks of the adventure game. But of course, first, it's listeners' email. So I never do that. I've got to do that for once.
We say that on the Big Finish podcast. I say emails. I'd listen to the Centre podcast at nicholasbriggs.com. I would just like to mention Patreon and just thank those of you who are following us on Patreon. It entitles you to lots of early content and extra stuff like the after party, whatever you like to call it, some recipes, lots of commentaries, and
uncommentaries.
Definitely uncommentaries. We ought to do some more uncommentaries. And you also get discounts on merchandise at nicholasbriggs.com. You can just get the merchandise anyway at nicholasbriggs.com. You do not have to be a patron on Patreon to do that. Just go there, and there are mugs and T-shirts and things. Nobody's bought any, I don't think, have they?
Don't know.
So, for goodness sake, help us out. That's desperation.com. So, would you like to read the first email?
Certainly, yes. This one is Tankard Amp. Tankard App. I can't speak. I cannot speak. I'm going insane. This one's from Tom Boone, Tankard Ad. This was sent on the 19th of the 2nd, 2021, the year of our Lord 931, which is also an excellent time. So really, it's just early enough, but not too early. It says here, "Hi Nick, this should really be for you, so I'll read it to you as though you're in bed."
Okay.
Hi Nick, wake up Nick, come on. There we go. You're all right. All right. It's all right. No, we're fine.
What are you doing in my bed?
No, we're fine. It's fine. I always sleep here. Oh dear. It says on a recent podcast, you looked on YouTube for a television commercial for Tankard beer. Tankard beer, an oldie and a goldie. You were sorely disappointed when your quest was unsuccessful. I thought you might like to know that when YouTube lets you down, the history of advertising trust can help. It's all you have to do.
You do the shake hand back and put the freshness back.
You will find some Tankard ads here, along with some others that appear to have been misfiled. But there's lots of goods in there, I have to admit.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's what I... as neither did you, Nick. I had no idea this website existed, and I was lost down an avenue of advertising.
They didn't have the advert I wanted, though. You know, that's how do you do it, Stanley? It's Tankard that helps me excel. After one, I do anything well. That's still I can't have imagined that, can I? That's not the sort of thing.
That's too specific, is it not? Yeah. Too Pacific. For you to
very
remember.
seagoing, yeah. There used to be, it was like an animation of this guy called Stanley.
Go,
what?
How do you do it, Stanley?
I'll tell you, lass. Oh, it's Tankard that helps me excel. After one, I do anything well.
Ah!
See? I'm
so happy.
It's there.
I'm happy.
I'm changing.
Wow. Send me the link to that particular one because I can't. Oh, well, thank you so much for writing in about that. Shall I do the next one?
Yes, absolutely.
This is from one of our patrons, Carl Scutt. He said, my favourite food memory would also have to be my earliest. Now, this is in reaction to one of our extras for patrons where we were talking about our favourite food memories. My paternal nan made bacon pudding. Simply bacon rolled up in suet and steamed. He said streamed, but I can't imagine that's right. Imagine having an online bacon streaming service.
I'd subscribe in a heartbeat.
Just press play and a load of meat comes out of your computer.
I'll have the pork scratching chops today.
Bacon streaming.
I'll have the bacon jumper, please.
Once ready, it was sliced and vinegar poured over it.
Oh, I could see that working.
The smell and the taste of the first bite has always stayed with me. An early 60s British classic, as my mum called it. Poor man's food. I mean, bacon and vinegar. That's just weird. Do you want some bacon and vinegar? Oh. Yes, please. Yes, please, Mum. I'd like my bacon. Can I have my bacon and vinegar? No, it's not the first Thursday of the month.
It does sound like it could be some crisps, though, doesn't it? Bacon and vinegar flavoured crisps.
Yes.
Made by Tudor or something. Brilliant. Smith's Crisps.
So you've sent me the link?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I don't miss a trick.
That's so... that says it. All right. I can't believe I'm just going to play this again.
How do you do it, Stanley?
I'll tell you, lass. Oh, it's Tankard that helps me excel.
After one, I do anything well.
Hey, hope it's opening time.
And the idea... The idea is he swum the channel because he's had a pint of Tankard. Oh, it's playing again. Stop it. Wow. That's one of many. Because they sort of changed it, for him going to France. There was one... I'm going into too much detail on this, aren't I? Read the next email.
He's an enthusiast, though. I like it. We got one here from Anthony Zahetner, sent on the 16th of the 2nd, 2021, the year of our Lord 136.
Wow.
He won all 36 of them.
That's brilliant.
Dear Nickman and Benjamin, or should that be Benjamin? Very good. I was wondering how you would pronounce Dr. Christine Allen from Spare Parts. Would she be a Dr. Munman? I think she would be a Dr. Munman. Or is it Manna from Heaven or Manaman from Heaven? I like Manaman. Manaman's a good name, actually. John Manaman here. Manaman, come in.
It's the minimum Manaman.
Minimum Manaman. That's the minimum Manaman, Madam Moon. the moon. I actually find it funny, no matter how many times you say it. My sister's the same. She just thinks it's funny. She just, every time anything ends with man, she just laughs and thinks of us saying mun. Is it a bit like the character Roger Moore, and he says 007's A View to a Kill, James St. John Smythe, which is pronounced James St. John Smythe. Yes, of course, Mr. St. John Smythe. St. John Smythe. Was there ever a St. John Smythe in Doctor Who?
There might have been.
It sounds like a very John Pertwee sort of stuffy kind of politician, doesn't it? So
Tubby Rowlands.
Tubby Rowlands and Sir Reginald Styles. Of course, Sir Reginald Styles, Mr. St. John Smythe. Sir Reginald Styles features...
Just sitting back and watching.
He features in this next clip
That's
here.
That's easy for you to say, yes.
My one serious question to Nick, this is a good question. Having redubbed some of the original Daleks, e.g. Day of the Daleks, how would you feel if you were redubbed in the future? There we go.
By Jamie, wasn't he suggesting?
It's just that Jamie Anderson's is a music shop. Jamie Anderson's electric larynx sounds so good. You need a Cyberman off.
Yes, well, we sort of did have one, didn't we, really? How would I feel? Well, once I'm long gone, it wouldn't matter if people redubbed me. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe by then we'll have met aliens that actually sound like Daleks, and it would be offensive to portray them in a negative light.
Yeah, you never know. That's a very real possibility there. Cheers, Anthony. Please only use this question to one podcast. I will CC so that Shelley and Jamie can read it at the other podcasts.
Oh, well, I've done it on this one.
Well, there we go.
He sent it to the Benji and Nick show address.
And it arrived.
Yes.
I was also sent to podcast@bigfinish.com and podcast@jerryanderson.com. So there we go. And podcast news sent to all of them. The holy trilogy of podcasts.
Oh, that wasn't brought to my attention by my wife. My wife has made a terrible mistake.
My wife has made a terrible mistake.
Is it time to invite Shelley Dean? I didn't want to go like I've forgotten her name because I've known her for years. Okay, Shelley. Now's your time. I'll invite you now. Right, that involves me inviting her. Bizarrely, Jamie Anderson has said that he might be available.
Good Lord. The man's a maniac, I say. A maniac.
Can't believe it.
Ooh, and they knocked over an empty glass.
So we're just waiting for Shelley.
It's all you have to do. You
do the Shelley vac.
The Shelley vac, you put the freshness back. Do the shake and vac and put the freshness back. Put the freshness back. Put the freshness back.
Hello, Shelley.
Good morning.
Hi, boys.
Have you done the shake and vac lately, Shelley?
Have I done the what?
The shake and vac. Have you put the freshness back?
No, I haven't.
That's all you have to do. It's a British. We're talking. It's an old advert from the UK. It's all you have to do. Do the shake and vac. Put the freshness back. Yes. How are you, Shelley? Anyway.
Is that like baking soda? Like you put sprinkles? It sounds like something you'd sprinkle into something.
You sprinkle it on your carpet, and then vacuum it to make your carpet sound fresh, smell fresh.
Wait, that was. I remember that being a thing. I don't think. I mean, that's not really a thing anymore. I don't know, but I remember that definitely being a thing.
I don't think we have any carpets, so it's not.
I've got some shake and vac downstairs by Glade.
I have wall-to-wall carpeting in my condo, and I hate it.
Yeah, we've got some old carpet that we're going to rip up at some point, so we're enjoying letting next door's cat claw it to bits. She comes in here and loves it, because she's going, are you going to tell me off? They're not telling me off.
See, that's why I have 8 million cat scratchers all over my house.
Very
so
wise.
They can scratch wherever they want.
Very wise.
But we're buried under snow here in New Jersey.
Wow.
And we're getting more. It's been snowing for like 48 hours straight, and it just keeps coming down. So, yeah, if you don't see me next week, it's because I can't find my way out.
You'll just be living in an igloo.
Yeah. Yes, I will be in an igloo. So, yeah. Yeah, I can see Nick's beautiful backyard there. That you don't have any snow.
No snow. No, it's just very windy here and wet. But it's it's like 11 degrees Celsius, so it's quite comfortable, but just a bit miserable.
Yeah, not
Welcome to the
here.
Weather Podcast.
Yes, the Weather Channel with me, weathering the storm. This week, of course, we're talking about the adventure game. Shelley, really intrigued to see what you thought of this very strange UK programme.
Okay, well, first I'm going to do the little blurb I have about what it is exactly that we watched. I don't know if you guys have talked about what it is yet.
Only the vaguest terms.
Okay, well, the Adventure Game is a game show that was broadcast in the UK from 1980 to 1986, and it's a game show. Okay, that's where I was thrown for a loop. It's a game show whose premise is 2 celebrity contestants and a civilian travel by spaceship. Yes, travel by spaceship to the planet Arg on the far side of the galaxy. They are stranded, and in order to return to Earth, they must first locate a crystal to power their spacecraft. To find the crystal, they must navigate their way through a series of practical and mental problems devised by a fiendish alien intelligence, the Argons. Dun dun dun. So that being said, I adored the premise. Absolutely thought the concept was so fun. And when I realized what was happening, I was like, oh, this is cool. But then it happened.
Yep, that sums it up.
In all its 1980s BBC.
Then it happened. Well, see, what bothered me the most about it was just so boring to watch.
Yes, it was very bad television.
Just
dreadful.
I don't think I've ever said that on this podcast. Very bad television.
It was. The thing that did it for me, on that I just thought it was just so, is the fact that, you had these people solving, quite frankly, quite unfathomably complex puzzles for television. They're not straightforward things. But the thing that really did it for me is the fact that it's so blatantly obvious that at every opportunity they have to help them to the point where so the first puzzle, that woman has to run through and do the thing because they weren't getting it. Yeah. And you could tell they were thinking, right, you'll have to run. What thing
did she have to run through and do, Benji?
She had to run over this floor with various patterns, and they had to basically work out that there were 2 things, which were the safe shapes to stand on. So in this case, it was a triangle, and which is the safe colour to stand on. So you can stand on any shape providing it's green. But you can only stand on a triangle if it's not, I believe.
Yeah, well, that was the solution for that. In later years, they CSO'd the floor so you could see space on it, and a laser beam would come down. I don't know why I know this, because I've never really watched it. This is the first time I've watched a whole one, but it used to be on BBC Two right after Doctor Who back in the 80s.
Yeah, of course it would be.
Yeah, so you'd switch over to avoid whatever trash was on BBC One, and you'd watch this, and it sort of had a sci-fi theme. So I always used to think, oh, I like this, and then 2 minutes later I think, oh God, it's really boring.
Well, it's so boring. There's not even any music, and they just walk around the studio, and then so the woman goes through, and then they obviously basically like that's the crew saying, come on, figure it out. Then they get into the next room, and it fades to black so many times. Where obviously obviously they've been pondering for hours. Or somebody's gone in and said, look, honestly, if you look down there, that thing does this.
It's cheap, isn't it? And I think that all the money was spent on the masses of studio time allocated to it.
What bugged me was, as they were setting it up for us, the viewers, it was, okay, well, here's what they're going to have to figure out. And so then after that, especially when they got into the first room, after they managed to cheat their way through the stepping on the shapes and colors, which they totally cheated their way through because they had no idea what they were doing. No. The fact that if you hit the wrong one, you got a buzzer. How easy would that be to make it across?
And it's not even a real buzzer. It's somebody with a squeaky toy.
Oh, and it's so annoying. Oh, my God. It was loud.
So annoying.
It was loud. But so they got into that room, and you're looking around at all that stuff going, how the hell are they supposed to figure out what the potato in the clock is?
Yeah.
And the wound up... which they did figure out, which I'm sure someone came in and said, okay, wind the...
For Christ's sake, we're all dying up in the control room when you just do this, all right?
But it was so... The difficultness of the puzzles and stuff, it was just...
Impossible. They were impossible.
It's ridiculous.
Right, so I'm going back to the concept of this is a fun, watchable thing. I did read on, and this was the only episode I did watch, but I did read on that the puzzles did get easier, and they were doing things that that weren't taking hours upon hours for these people to solve.
Yeah, they got it wrong to start with. It was also presented by Moira Stewart, who, just to let you know, the lady
odd choice, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was up until very recently one of our foremost BBC newsreaders, like the face of BBC News, and there she was presenting this really rubbish program. I think it's really interesting, Shelley. The thing you mentioned there is that they tell the audience what all the solutions are beforehand, which seems very odd, but of course I think if we'd been watching along and not knowing the solutions and watching the people trying to work it out, we would have been even more frustrated because it would have been impossible for us to solve. So they must have made a decision like, we better tell the audience because they'll just switch off.
But that also gives the audience the opportunity to look at those people and go, boy, they're stupid. They can't figure that out.
I mean, the thing is
But like you, I kept thinking, how on earth would anyone work any of this out?
Yeah.
It's so... And talking of the team, though, there was that bloke, a member of the public was in there.
Yes.
And he didn't have a clue. He didn't offer anything. He didn't even speak, really. I thought, if I'm meant to be solving puzzles, at least have somebody that could be going, or maybe if we do this. But he just stood there, sort of touching his beard, going,
Yeah. And
looking like he's thinking about it really hard.
Celebrities in inverted commas. Who were they, Benji? What were their names?
Let me find their names because I've just deleted them from my mind.
I do know who they are. One of them was Fred something, wasn't he?
He was a comedian, wasn't he? I seem to recall.
He used to be in an ITV sort of kids comedy series called End of Part 1, which used to do a Doctor Who send-up sketch.
Fred Harris, that's
right. And it did a Doctor Who send-up sketch called Dr. Eyes. And I think he might have played Tom Baker because he just had huge bulgy eyes, just what everyone thought about Tom Baker back in those days. And the woman, what's her name?
And the woman's name was... I've just...
and tell me what she's been in. I'm pretty certain she was, up until recently, in one of ITV's biggest... it's a big UK soap that often wins awards, called Emmerdale.
She was Elizabeth Estenson, who came to prominence at the time for Wiley Russell's Beatles musical John, Paul, George and Ringo and Bert, in the mid-70s.
Sorry, go on.
She did the Liver Birds.
That's what I was going to say. She was a replacement for Polly James in the Liver Birds, which was a big sitcom in the 60s and 70s in Britain. I mean, really huge on the BBC.
My favourite thing on this blog here is it lists all of them, like it says about her, and it says Fred Harris, a play school presenter. Harris is one of the Chock-a-Blocks from Chock-a-Block. And a regular and end of part 1, and then it just says Mark Dugdale. He's got a red jumper and a beard. Sorry, there's not a great deal of biographical information I can share with you. That's his legacy, Mark Dugdale. He's got a red jumper and a beard.
The non-celeb.
When you call them civilians, that really makes me laugh. Like the rest of them are members of the military.
Remember that weird archaeology thing.
I just use it as civilian, meaning they're not a celebrity. They're just an average Joe.
They're just an average Joe.
Members of the public, I would say. Yes,
but that takes too long to say.
I did try to do a little bit of...
You make a good point. Yes.
I tried to do a little bit of hunting down to see if I could track down Mark Dugdale to see if he had any memories. But unfortunately, I can't find him. So no idea what happened to him. But from what I gathered, he seems like a man of very few words.
Well, his time machine never got him home because in this, he
was vaporized.
They're traveling in a time machine, not a spaceship. The crystals are to power their time machines, isn't it?
And if they can, and that's the thing is if they can't get back through the maze, at least in the series 1, the maze that the shapes and the colors maze, if they can't get through it, they get vaporized. But apparently, as I read on, they don't actually get vaporized. They have to walk home, which kind of surprised me because if they're in a planet in a galaxy at the far reaches of the galaxy, how are they walking home? I think
that's the same as being vaporized. Isn't
yeah,
it?
Exactly.
They have to walk home through a vacuum.
Yeah, a vacuum.
Fun fact is that the woman, what was her name again? Have we all forgotten?
Yeah, of course.
Elizabeth. Just call her Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. She lives in the same street as me in London. Same street my flat in London's in. She lives in a house there, and I noticed her for years, and she still lives there. Yeah.
Oh, that's
crazy.
Funny.
I mean, obviously, I've never spoken to her or anything.
Did you comment on her very small wrists that she was able to stick her hand down that test tube?
I know, that was weird. They were really shocked by that. They said, "How did you weren't meant to get your hand in there?" And then she went, "I don't know." And then she held her hand up, and it was so skinny.
Yeah. But that's what the potato was for.
Yeah.
Come to find out. Would you ever in a gajillion years have thought, I'm going to take that potato out of the clock and drop it on top of the corkscrew that's in a big test tube to pull the...
Nope.
I thought and that's just the prime example of why this was so annoying to me.
I'd like to add that I don't like games or quizzes anyway. So it was doubly boring for me. I can see how some people like your good self might find the concept interesting, but I didn't even find the concept interesting, so it was doubly boring.
People pay a lot of money to go to escape rooms.
They do.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what this is.
It is.
And last year, there was a TV special here in America called Celebrity Escape Room, and it was hosted by Jack Black. And the celebrities that they had were Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Adam Scott, and Ben Stiller. Those were the 4 contestants.
Wow, we've heard of some of them, haven't we, Benji?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
And it was actually very well done, and it was... The audience, if I remember correctly, we weren't let in on what the answers to the clues and the puzzles and stuff were. So we were kind of going along with these people, figuring out what they needed to figure out. And I really enjoyed it. And so when I was watching this, I thought, it is possible to do it where it's entertaining and we're not, as the audience, going, come on, you nincompoop, don't you know what to use the potato for?
Yeah, there has to be a midpoint, doesn't there, where it's not too difficult, not too easy.
Yeah, and like
they
Benji was saying, that one guy who was just sitting around pulling on his beard going, and not actively participating.
Well, and you know that during those bits, Benji, you can imagine, can't you, up in the control room, the producer just going, it was a mistake getting this guy. I mean, what test did he pass to get on here? Because he's got no personality. I mean, why have we got him on the show?
You especially want somebody who's going to be able to kind of make conversation or make it a little more interesting while they're spending hours and hours trying to figure out these puzzles.
It's like getting into the mode of it all, because, one thing I thought was really good is when old Fred went into the second room.
Old Fred.
The first thing he did immediately, he said, he looked on the door and he said, it's backwards. That's backwards there. And he immediately clocked it. I thought, great, he's getting into it now. And that stood out for me because I thought, he's getting into the spirit of the game. And by the end of it, they do get into the spirit of the game and they're a bit more animated. But gosh, the big,
It's like he's a comedian, though. Why isn't he funny at all?
Be funny.
Right.
Yeah, stop being silly.
I had no idea what any of these people were in
An
their
actor and a comedian. They were just
chosen
confused.
profession.
You could tell they felt stupid, didn't they? They were kind of like, why can't we work this out?
Yeah.
But it is one of those things where you actually feel quite stupid doing it as well. I can imagine if I was them, I'd be thinking, great, I did that show and I've come out of this one looking like a right idiot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
why...
It's
It's not my kind of thing anyway, but
right.
I will say that in later episodes that I saw little few-minute extracts from over the years, they do make more capital out of the aliens there's a famous plant that used to go, and I remember I used it in one of my Mythmakers videos. I had someone walk past the plant, and I got someone behind it to wobble it and make a funny noise.
Well, and for those of you who have not had the pleasure of watching this, what it is the alien creatures are these dragons. At least for this particular series, apparently they've switched and gone on to different creatures. Jamie looks a little different as he's just popped on.
Oh, good Lord. I didn't even know he'd arrived. He doesn't look any different.
But anyhow, so... that just totally threw me off. What was I
so sorry.
Aliens.
I was hoping you'd just carry on.
Shapeshift into recognizable humanoids, I guess you would say. And so they're actual aliens in a different shape. So that was confusing too, because that didn't make any sense.
Hello, Jamie.
And that was the story of Shelley's Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, basically.
So, Jamie, have you ever heard of the adventure game, which is what Shelley was talking about there?
I have heard of it, would you believe?
Good Lord.
No, that's where
that
we're
is
one up than usual.
where my expertise begins and ends.
And we are just about to allocate exclamation marks to it.
Oh.
I'm giving it 1 because it exists. And I can see there's a kernel of a good idea that would entertain someone, but I thought it was dreadful. It was so boring.
Well, I'm going to start. I have a method to my madness here. I'm going to start by giving it a 4.
Wow.
For concept. But then we're going to take away 2 because the execution was crapola. So
yeah,
that's a phrase used by Janet Fielding, who, funnily enough, does end up in the adventure game.
As does Bonnie Langford as well. She's in there. Wow. I clicked upon a video of her in it, and she was drinking a green fizzy drink apparently, and looking very bemused about the whole thing. Yeah, I'll give it 2 because I'll stand with Shelley's exact reasoning, because I actually think the concept is quite fun and it paved the way for Crystal Maze, which is brilliant, and I love Crystal Maze. You like Crystal Maze, Jamie?
I do indeed. Even in the Ed Tudor Pole days, even post.
Why do people knock Ed Tudor Pole? I
don't know.
Ed Tudor Pole. I think he's really good. I once had tickets to see him play at the local pub. But it snowed really, really heavily that in the end I just didn't go because it was too snowy.
Tenpole Tudor, wasn't it? That was his...
Tenpole Tudor. He did the song, was it
Sound of a Thousand...
Yeah, great song.
Yeah. We have left Shelley behind in the vacuum of UK-centric comments.
And I only know what the Crystal Maze is because I read it in saying everything I read about the show. It said it was the precursor to Crystal Maze.
If you like game shows,
I like some game shows.
I encourage you to watch Crystal Maze because it's actually good. It's
is
very
it still
good.
On?
No. Yes, it is. They've relaunched
it with Richard Ayoade.
Who's doing it now? Oh, right.
And he's good and very Doctor Who-ish in it, and carries around.
What channel is it on?
Channel 4, isn't it? Is it Channel 4? Yeah.
Alrighty then. See if I can locate it.
I'm not the biggest fan of him as a host.
It was the old show with
Richard O'Brien
from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. He was in that. He was in that movie. What was the character
he coins himself as the third sex in real life. He says, "I'm not a man. I'm not a woman. I'm the third sex," which I think is quite fun. I was like, he's quite a cool guy.
Yes, he is cool. Cool. So there we have it.
So, all right, well, we did that.
Jamie wants to speak.
I was just going to say, and this won't mean anything to Shelley, I'm very sorry, but when I was a kid,
yes,
I used to get
that doesn't mean anything to Shelley.
No concept of the passing of time and human growth. When I was a child, I always got confused between Richard O'Brien and Duncan Goodhue.
Because they're both bald.
Who's Duncan Goodhue?
Who's Duncan Goodhue?
Mainly famous for being bald. He was a
swimmer
who'd lost all his hair, hadn't he?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, he had no hair on his face at all, not even eyebrows.
No, they don't look anything alike.
Alopecia, probably.
Yeah.
I just got a photo up.
Good for swimming, though.
Great for
swimming. I was going to say it saves a lot of shaving.
He's got a natural swimming cap.
As do Nick and I. So
that's the irony for you, Jamie. You rather, in an appalling prejudice against bald men, you became bald yourself
just by getting confused between two other bald men. That's what happens if you get too confused between people. You become
it's a punishment.
People.
It's a
Karma
punishment.
is a
bald
naughty old
cow.
fool.
It's punishment for baldism.
Yeah, fair enough. I deserve it very much. Thank you.
Have you ever been at a convention, either of you two, where you've been mistaken as the other person?
The other person, not the other sex. The
No,
other
the other
person.
The other person, yeah.
No,
It's
I get confused for Jamie Robertson quite regularly.
Only on
Really?
emails when my email.
Well, and in person, someone misread my sign at a Big Finish day and went, "Oh, could you sign my thing that Jamie Robertson worked on?" And I definitely hadn't. And I only at the last minute thought, "Hang on,
Who am I?
who am I?"
Who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I?
Meanwhile, Jamie Robertson, who's a sound designer at Big Finish, he's going round at Andacon saying, "Yeah, I did that one. That's one of mine." Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely my dad. That
Yeah,
Jerry
yeah.
Anderson. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Nick has been confused for my dad on one occasion. At an Airbnb where he needed to do a wee. Do you remember?
An Airbnb where I needed to do a wee.
It was a very strange moment.
Yes. Jamie was staying somewhere and he said, "I've just got to put my bags in here before we go off." And I said, "Oh, can I come in to have a wee?" And the guy said, is this your father?
Yeah. But if we said no, it would have been even weirder.
Yeah, it's true. So
So-
did you say yes?
I think we sort of brushed it off, didn't we? And he's just going for a pee. Won't be a minute.
Because he's my father, he'll be half an hour. Yeah. You should have said just as I left, "My father's dead, actually." And I go, "What? Oh my God!"
And given no further explanation. No.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sad that things like that can't currently happen in the world we live in right now.
No,
but
those
I look forward to
misunderstandings.
future amusing misunderstandings that can be later be retold poorly on a podcast.
Yeah, that's what,
It's a
that's
shame-
what
it's a shame
life's
that-
all about, really, isn't it?
For security reasons, we can't really say the other occasions on which Jamie has said that I'm his father.
No, that's
We
top
can't mention
secret.
that. We
That's
can't
top
mention
secret.
that. That sounds weird. I'm sorry I brought it up.
Yeah. All right, Dad. It's best we don't talk about this anymore. Moving on.
I am, it has to be said, easily old enough to be your father.
Yes.
Easily, which is
Yeah.
very...
You can be mine and Benji's dad.
Yeah.
Well,
there we go.
Benji's mother is the same age as me.
There we go. So you could conceivably be my father.
Maybe. I mean,
Well, I could be Benji's mother, but I don't know how old Jamie is, so I don't know if I could be Jamie's mother.
I am coming up for 36 very shortly, Shelley. So does that work?
Any minute
time-wise?
now. Hold on.
Yeah.
Biologically, yes.
Legally,
Legally and
I
morally.
mean,
no.
it would have been a bad thing.
Yeah, okay, fine. Don't talk about
Would have been a
your
very
son
sad-
that way.
sad story of something terrible happening to a
bad
14-year-old.
Okay.
Jamie Anderson, a bad
if I'd
thing.
been your mother, it would have been a bad thing.
Yeah, others have said it. You won't be the last. Thank you, Shelley. Well, this took an interesting
on that
turn.
note, I do want to take a moment here to tell you guys that I've been doing a lot more research on our patrons.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so as I've been getting to know them, because I'm reaching out to
Yeah.
each one of them and having hours upon hours of conversation.
Could I just say, Jamie, could you at least pretend to look interested?
Sorry, I was.
Well, you will be. He will be interesting.
I'd
because
knocked off
interested.
Parker's hair. You see. So I
Oh,
was
now,
just.
now we can mistake him
now
for
he's
your
bald
dad.
too. It's the karma of the thinking about being bald.
Jamie's got some action figures there.
You can
Sorry,
take him,
Shelley.
you can
Sorry
take him to
interrupt
hotel
you.
lobbies
Carry
and
on.
say that he needs to go for
Okay,
pee.
so I'm just going to go ahead and say this stuff.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys
yeah,
can
yeah.
do whatever you guys are doing. Mute your mics, whatever. But I just wanted to say that these people that are subscribed to our Patreon are just absolutely fascinating. Like,
Yeah.
first of all, we've got a guy named Nick Tedstone, and I found out that he's a local hero who was caught on camera saving a pig that was stuck in a tree.
Wow.
Good on him.
Now, there were a lot of questions that were raised about pig in a tree, but the biggest one was, why was Nick carrying barbecue sauce?
Oh no! Oh, it's just taking
I
a
don't know.
dark turn.
I don't know. And then there's Nathan Martin, who is a candle maker who hunts Bigfoot in his spare time.
Ah, yeah.
His intention is to create a Bigfoot-scented candle. And if you've heard anything about Bigfoot, they smell really good.
Yeah.
Both feet.
Really good. And then there's
Yes.
Charles Coffin, who ran a marketing research team that discovered that breathing oxygen is linked to staying alive.
That's
Do you know-
quite trailblazing, isn't it?
Do you know-
It is fascinating. And because of that discovery, he won the prestigious John Q. Obvious Award.
That's good.
And then we go on to Fatna, who is one of our favorite question ponderers when it
She
comes to
is,
the after
she is,
party.
yes.
Her favorite way, I found out her favorite way to eat Brussels sprouts is with whipped cream and hot fudge.
I can believe that of Fatima. Yeah.
But we don't judge
No.
here on the Benji and Nick Show.
About the hot fudge. We don't judge.
And last but not least, we've got Chris David, not to be confused with the notorious Chris David, who infamously ran a speakeasy during Prohibition that only served minors.
Yeah.
Not underage people, but people who worked in the mines. So those are just some interesting things
Well,
I'm
good
finding
old
out
Chris.
about our patrons. So
Like that man on the cover of the Golden Nugget cereals. He's a miner, isn't he?
Is he?
You must know Golden Nuggets. They taste yee-haw.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, interesting enough, you mentioned oxygen in there. Did you know that technically oxygen is actually killing us?
Yeah, it's corrosive. It's a corrosive gas,
Causes
isn't it?
oxidization.
I know, but we also can't live without it. So it's much the same as beer.
Double-edged
Yeah,
sword.
it's true. Double-edged
Kills
sword.
you, but you can't live without it.
Yeah. Much like time as well, unfortunately.
True.
What, the herb?
time does kill.
Time.
And we often try to kill time. But time
Yeah.
is the ultimate killer.
Now, you can cut it, of course, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stretch it out, I suppose.
Did we work out where we were with our commentaries on Doctor Who Inferno?
I think we got to episode 4, but
I
I'll
think
double-check.
it's not good enough, though, is it?
I'll have a
Let's
look. I
face
said
it.
I'll look now.
I'm looking now.
Looking. Don't hassle me.
In the meantime, Jamie, I feel like we should take more advantage of you.
All
Part
right.
5. We've got part
Bow
5.
chicka bow
Part
wow.
5 is next.
Part 5 is next.
Yeah, that's
okay,
what we've
so
gotta do.
that's what we're going to do next week. We're going to do
Oh,
part
okay.
5 commentary of Inferno.
Yeah, for quite.
The John Pertwee 1970 story. I've
And
been a good
there's
one.
20 episodes in that?
Yeah,
No, it just feels like it.
Okay.
I just watched Ambassadors of Death, which is the story before that. Which
I watched
I love
the,
it more every time I watch it, to be quite frank.
I watched the first episode after you recommended it.
Yeah,
Well, I've
it's
seen
good,
it
isn't
before,
it?
but you said you were watching it. I was like, I'll watch it too. Great fun. That shootout is actually quite good.
It is.
I think they've done a
I
good
love
job
the
there.
way, but of course, as I mentioned to Benji, this is a complete tangent, but anyway, as I mentioned to Benji, there are a lot of stuntmen stroke extras in Ambassadors of Death, who the producers obviously thought, look, he dies in episode 2, and then it turns later on, the brigadier, there are lots of soldiers and men who get killed and zapped and what have you early on in the story, and then at the end of the story, the brigadier stages a massive rescue of the Doctor by turning up in Bessie and a staff car packed with soldiers, because there's no unit transport available because it's all been nicked by other people. Or the budget wouldn't run to it, whatever excuse you want. So he turns up with these guys, and they are almost entire. This force is almost entirely made up of all the guys who've died earlier on in the story. So I said it's a real fictional twist here that the Brigadier uses reanimated dead unit soldiers.
They didn't even
Yes.
bother slapping some mustaches on
No.
to try to hide the fact that they're the same guys.
Just the same guys. you know.
Lazy.
Well, they just thought
the
that was.
original The Walking Dead.
That's 5 weeks ago. No one's going to remember that, they thought.
Little did
And
they
they're
know.
right, of course. It's only because
Yeah.
idiots like me have watched it umpteen times that I
well,
think,
and now
hold
that we
on
have the ability to binge and watch
Exactly.
within
Rewatch.
one. Yeah.
And one of the guys turns up like an episode after he's been zapped by the Ambassadors of Death. When he's holding on to the barrier, and he's holding on to it, and the thing touches it, and it goes zzz, and blows him up. And 2 episodes later, or 1 episode later, he's there doing something else. You think, that's that. He had lines and everything, Just put a hat on him.
Continuity, the
They do
beauty
give a
of
toss.
it.
Do
But it
give
is a
toss.
fantastic story. Anyway, Jamie, how are things?
They're very good, thank you very much.
What's the highlight of your life at the moment?
Of my life?
Yeah, current life. I mean,
I was in my days currently.
Yeah. I said at the moment.
You're in a daze, of course.
Answer the question however you like.
Yeah. Well, the annoying thing is it's doing a few things that I can't talk about yet, which are very exciting.
I know, I'm involved in them.
You are, yeah. We are, yeah. Well, yeah, yes, you are. Most of them. But there are other things too. I had to send some documents to China, and that's very difficult. Electronically, I mean, because all of the file sharing sites like WeTransfer are banned in China. So,
they really?
Oh, that's annoying.
So
isn't
getting
it?
large documents is it's very tough. That's an exciting challenge.
How do you get past it?
Through secret methods. That's all I can say.
Have to smuggle them in over the wall.
And as we see some federal people come running into Jamie's house right now,
Take him out.
jumping on him and throwing cuffs on him.
Get down on the floor, sir.
Yeah. That's a very convincing Chinese accent you did there, Nick.
What?
Yeah. I know it wasn't. I'm only joking. Yeah. No, I'm getting to create a lot of things at the moment, which is very exciting. So I'm very happy about that.
Well, thank you for being vague.
Can I give you a slightly less vague forewarning for your listeners?
Yes. Forewarning.
Save the date. I should say the date as well.
Yes.
That helps.
The 14th of April.
Why?
I'm going to say no more. Anyone who goes and researches it will see something, but not be sure why I'm now saying that. But yeah.
Wow.
14th of April, there's a thing. That's it. Save it.
Save it.
Is this something based on the Mayan calendar and we're having a meteor that's going to come and murder us all? Is that it? Is that
Shelley,
it, Jamie?
You guessed it in one.
The murderous meteor of Maya.
National Gardening Day, National Dolphin Day, National Reach as High as You Can Day, National Ex-Spouse Day, National Look Up at the Sky Day, National Pan-American Day, and National Pecan Day. So there we go, just in case you... Pecan days.
I wonder how many of those coincide with national holidays here in America, because you're looking at national for
Probably
you.
all of them. I just like National Ex-Spouse Day.
I don't know. What was that? Reach as high as you can?
Yeah. What a day.
Well, some of these things may be
That's not very
relevant.
high for midget
Some of them may be relevant.
In a weird way, yes. From the list that Benji read out, I can see how some of those might be relevant. But let's wait and see. In a weird way. Yes. I got Parker's hair back on, by the way. Unfortunately, it's now at a jaunty angle.
Oh, yes, lady, I don't know what's going on. Well, in a weird way, it's probably the end of this podcast, isn't it?
We've got there, yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure, Jamie. Always lovely to have you on here.
Thanks
always
for having
lovely
me.
to see you, Shelley. Always lovely to see you, Nick. And from myself,
Hello.
always lovely to see me. Goodbye.
Agreed.
From me, it's lovely to see you. Goodbye.
It's lovely to... I don't know. Bye.
And from the love child of Duncan Goodhue and Richard O'Brien, it's goodbye.
Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk.